Hey bag maker, today I'm going to be talking about the Sewtites Sew in Store new backpacks that we've added to the shop. I have a really fun dog themed quilt pattern to share with you. The book review will be for a book called Retro Curved Piece Quilts, and also I have a fiction recommendation to share with you as well. Today's bag lab will be how to make a ribbon strap for your bag, also known as a guitar strap, and there's a great giveaway at the end. I'm Sarah Lawson from Sew Sweetness. Thanks so much for joining me for Sewcial Sunday, my monthly sewing chat. Hey everyone, welcome to Sewcial Sunday. Thanks so much for joining me for the June episode of Sewcial Sunday. Just to be completely transparent, we're traveling home today from Williams card tournament and we're scheduled to arrive just about when the show starts, so I didn't want to chance everything. So we pre-recorded the show yesterday before we left, and it's all new content like what I would normally do for Sewcial Sunday. I'm just not live, just in case. I didn't want to miss it, and I just wanted to have everything organized and presented how I normally would. So today's episode, we set it as a premiere. Everything else is as usual, and I just wanted to jump in with my quick spam reminder. If you're watching over on Facebook and you receive a private message with what looks like our Sew Sweetness logo, sometimes they're asking for credit card information to claim a prize or phone number, address, any of your other information. Please report or block that and don't send any of your information to that spammer. And if you're watching over on YouTube and you've left a comment on the show, and you receive a reply to your comments, again, it's usually a copy of our Sew Sweetness logo. Sometimes they have a phone number in the subject line of their comments, and again, they're usually asking for credit card information to claim a prize or any of your other personal information. Please do report or block that over on YouTube as well. I always announce the winner's name verbally on the show, and we also have the winner's name in the description of the show as well, in case you'd like to double check. And everything that I talk about during Sewcial Sunday are things that I've purchased myself. So these are not things that I'm getting paid to talk to you about, but just cool things that I found that I'd like to share with you. And everything that I'm scheduled to talk about, I link to in the description. So if you're interested in finding out more about any of the books, fabrics, notions, or projects that I talk about during Sewcial Sunday, just check that link in the description and you can find out more information there. So the notion of the week is a new product from Sewtites. Perhaps you have some of their magnetic pins already, but this is a clever magnetic stand for you to store all of your magnets. So I'm going to have Danny switch over to the, actually I'm going to have Danny stay on the front camera just because this is a bit of a larger item. It's an all metal stand. This part of the stand comes off if you'd like to take it off, and also you can hang it. If you have a hanging spot in your sewing room, you can hang it as well, and it's really handy for storing all of your Sewtites magnets, or if you have the Sewtites magnetic cutting mat, if you have those little round magnets, you can store that on here as well. I use the Sewtites magnets for sewing. It's really helpful. Sometimes I don't want to use pins because the pins, when you place them, especially through thick layers, the pins tend to make, regular pins I should say, tend to make the fabric wavy, and so especially if I'm dealing with thick layers, I like to use the Sewtites, especially their HD version of their magnetic pins. Really great for dealing with thick layers. And also I have some of these smaller Sewtites as well for English paper piecing. So they have a variety of different magnetic products, and they created this stand to hold everything, and it sits really nicely on your tabletop. And any kind of organization I like because it keeps things out of the way, keeps things organized. Before I got this, I had the variety of Sewtites scattered all over the sewing room, so now I have them in one easy to find place. And again, it's the Sew in Store hang stand, and there's a link in the description in case you'd like to check out this product from Sewtites after the show. All right, I have a question for you. Let me know in the comments. I'll just toss this down here. Have you used magnets instead of pins before, whether it's Sewtites or a different product? let me know in the comments. I'm curious. One tip I will give about using magnetic pins when sewing is, especially sometimes they'll want to attract to the metal bed of your sewing machine. So I generally like to keep that in mind and either remove them or place them in an area that won't get too close to that metal bed of the sewing machine so that the fabric is not pulled where I don't want it to be pulled while I'm sewing. So last week, Violet and I went to an art fair for the town where we live in, and it was really fun. Lots of paintings, metalworkers, woodworkers, and it was a juried art fair, so it was really interesting to see. There were tons of booths set up. Most every artist was also selling some of their artwork out of their booths, and there was actually a bag maker. I was really thrilled to see some handmade bags in a booth, and the designer is Rosalind from Yuli Bags. I bought a couple things because I always like to support other sewists, and so this is her brand, and I've also linked to her website in the description of the show. And beautiful work. She had actually our cork incorporated to a lot of her projects as well, and I just thought it was fantastic to see sewing included with the rest of the artists, as it should be, because I feel like, I don't know if you agree, but I feel like sewing is definitely an art, especially what we do as far as bag makers. And yeah, so Violet and I had a really great time at the art fair. It was a nice sunny day, and yeah, it was just fantastic taking in all of the artwork. All right, so our final challenge has come to a close. We sort of combined April and May together for the final challenge, and so I wanted to announce the two winners of that last challenge, number 19, Teresa, and number eight, Tammy. Congratulations to both of you. And I'm sure we'll have other forms of sew-alongs or challenges in the future. This was just sort of a wrap-up of our 12 months of challenges from our Minikin Season 4 set of patterns. So yeah, we've been doing the challenges for a few years, and so we're going to take a little break and kind of regroup and see what we can come up with next. If you have any suggestions for fun events that we can do for Sew Sweetness, feel free to email me anytime. My email is sarah@sewsweetness.com. Danny's going to put my email address up on the screen, I think. Thank you, Danny. And there it is. And also, additionally, if you ever have any questions or need help with anything, feel free to email me anytime as well. All right, so lots of new backpacks in the shop. If you're not familiar, the backpacks are 2-yard bundles of fabrics, 1 yard each for a curated exterior that I've chosen for a bag, and also a lining fabric. And so this month we're really heavy on dog, horse, and peacock fabric. So I'm gonna have Danny switch over to the overhead camera so that I can show you what all the backpacks are. So first off, lots of dog fabrics. These are designed by Sarah Watts, and some of them are quilting cotton and some of them are canvas. This particular set is both quilting cotton. This one's a really dark navy background. I just love all these dog fabrics. I just think they're just really whimsical. I feel like they capture the essence of the dogs really well. And this is a canvas. This is a natural background fabric and quilting cotton for the lining. Here's a print with some pit bulls. They're sort of tossed, so there's not one particular direction. As you can see, some of the dogs are upside down and some of them are straight on. I should also mention that the canvas prints of the dogs, like this one, are a little bit larger in scale than the quilting cotton. As you can see, here's one of the quilting cotton versions. The dogs are a little bit bigger in the canvas, so especially if you're making a larger bag, canvas might be a great option. And then I have another canvas. This one's in pink. And then one more, I think one more of the dogs in a quilting cotton. I like the brown too. It's a good neutral color as well. And then this print with the retrievers on it. Super cute. I love, honestly, like, I'm happy to make a bag in each of these dog prints. They're just really adorable. All right, there's a couple of peacock prints. This is the first one in green. I really love this color, and this is kind of a creamy, this is not a bright white, this is kind of a creamy, I guess, ivory color. Also some horse fabrics from Alexander Henry. I paired it with these dark green horseshoes. And then Anna Maria Horner also has a new fabric line out featuring horses. Two different colorways. This one's sort of a, I'm calling it a dawn, more of a dawn colorway. Another peacock print. The peacocks, as you can see by my hand next to it, the peacocks are a pretty good size. I have an organic cotton canvas print, and this one's quilting cotton. One more horse print. This one's in pink from Alexander Henry with pink horseshoes. And then finally one more Anna Maria Horner print. This is in a darker twilight colorway. I've got a link in the description to all of the backpacks in case any of those caught your eye. I have a question for you. Let me know in the comments which of the backpacks was your favorite. Maybe you liked all the dog prints, maybe the peacocks. Let me know in the comments what your favorite new backpack is. All right, I have another recipe to share, something that I made last week for lunch for myself and Danny. Rajas con crema. I put the link in the description for the recipe. Danny's going to put a picture up on the screen of from the recipe's website. Peppers, corn, tomatoes, rice. It was just really good filling. I had seconds, which usually doesn't happen for me. So it was delicious, and you can easily make it vegan if you choose by subbing in your favorite vegan sour cream and cheese, or you can just use the regular dairy version as well per the recipe. So again, I've linked to that recipe in the description in case you're interested in perhaps making it for a lunch for yourself this upcoming week. And on our dog theme for today, I have a brand new quilt pattern from Elizabeth Hartman to share with you. It's called Dog Park. I did purchase I'm going to have Danny switch to the overhead camera. I did purchase a quilt kit for this. I got this quilt kit from Sewtopia. I noticed that they were out of stock right now, but I did want to mention I purchased the quilt kit as well. The quilt kit has Kona solids in it, and the kit I bought was for the cover quilt, but there's actually several different versions of the quilt, and I'm going to flip to the back so that you can see the other versions. So the cover quilt, if you'll notice, has the tennis balls on the top and bottom just for a border. Another version you can make is all of the dogs, but without the tennis ball at top and bottom. A smaller quilt, medium-sized quilt with less dogs in it, or a small quilt. The smallest one's 40 inches by 50 inches, and this one's only with 4 different dogs in it. So I like the different options depending on how much time you'd like to invest in the quilt. And as with all of Elizabeth's patterns, there is full color illustrations for sewing the blocks together and different discussions, because each dog is a different, I guess, block, if you'll say. Obviously, it's several blocks combined to make the whole dog, but different options for the different dogs as well. And I just thought it was really clever. I love making quilts with solids, so this in particular really stood out to me. So I've linked to the pattern on Elizabeth's website, and if you're interested in a quilt kit, you can just Google. There's several shops carrying the quilt kits for Dog Park right now. All right, the book review for today is a book that I actually purchased from the designer's website, so it's actually a signed copy. It's called Retro Curved Pieced Quilts, and 15 different designs to make. And I'm gonna have Danny switch to the overhead camera. So as you can see, here's my signature in the book. I do have a lot of quilting and sewing books with signatures from the designers. So I really enjoy whenever I can getting a signed copy of the book. And I'm going to flip through and show you all the different projects that are included. So as with every craft book, the beginning portion of the book is techniques, what you should know before starting on the projects. And for this particular book, because it's all curved piecing, the author discusses different methods for sewing your curved pieces together depending on what you prefer. All right, let me flip through all of the projects. So this is the cover quilt, the snails. And I really liked, because I enjoy quilting with solids, I like that the quilts are represented in solids as well. It just kind of gives me in my brain at least, a framework for examples of fabrics I might use if I make any of these quilts myself. This is one of my favorites. I like the traditional quilt blocks as the sleeves for the records. This is sort of a Dresden-inspired quilt. And I think all of these quilts actually were made using art gallery solids. The fabric colors were actually referenced in each of the patterns, which I appreciate, because a lot of times if I see a quilt I love, I'll just replicate the fabrics that were used in the cover quilt. And as you can see, the quilting really references the designs from the Pyrex too, which I really like. This is another one of my favorites. Honestly, like, I'll probably make this quilt first out of all the quilts in the book. And this was my third favorite. So it's between this one, the one I previously shared, maybe that rainbow one. That one was pretty cool too. And I feel like they're all really different designs in this book compared to quilts I've seen out there. So there's a few smaller projects as well if you don't want to invest the time in a full-size quilt. Pillow. There's another pillow over here, and then there's templates in the back of the book that you can copy off as well. So the book, again, is called Retro Curved Pieced Quilts, and in case you're interested in a signed copy, I've actually linked to the designer's website in case you'd like to check this book out after the show. So for this month, my fiction recommendation is for one of my favorite murder mystery / thriller authors, Michael Robotham. This is the first book in one of his character series. It's called The Suspect. Danny's going to put a picture up on the screen of the book, and the main character is a psychologist, and it's just, I just find it really interesting having him discuss kind of an insight into the minds of either serial killers, murderers. So I know thrillers are not for everyone, but if that's the kind of book you like to read, highly recommend. I think I've reread all his books probably 2 or 3 times. I'm a serial rereader, so if I find books that I really like, every few years I will reread them. And just because for whatever reason I'm not able to retain like lots of memory about the books I've read in the past, a lot of times it feels like a brand new book to me, but I just know ahead of time that it's going to be an enjoyable read. So again, that book recommendation is The Suspect. It's a fiction read, and I've linked to it in the description in case you're interested in checking it out. And possibly you can also get a lot of these books at your local library as well. All right, Danny, are you ready?
Yes. We are interrupting the show for a special report, because now it is time for Bag Lab.
Okay, so today's bag lab is how to make a ribbon bag strap such as this. Obviously mine's a little bit shorter for my demonstration, but this is an adjustable ribbon strap, also known as a guitar strap. I noticed when I went to the store recently with Danny and Violet, majority of the bags had some sort of ribbon type strap or ribbon webbing type of strap, and so I thought it would be a really fun demonstration for tonight's Social Sunday. So I'm going to have Danny switch to the overhead camera. And I wanted to discuss two common, actually this is a good zoom out, Danny. I wanted to discuss two different widths because I feel like for bags, commonly I'm using either a 1-inch wide finish strap or 1.5-inch wide finish strap. So I made the 1-inch wide before the show. So if you would like to make your finish strap 1-inch wide, you'll need to cut your fabric 4 inches wide by however long you would like your strap to be. You will also need 2 1-inch swivel clips and 1 1-inch metal slider. And then the ribbon, I would suggest using a ribbon that's either the width of your finished strap or slightly smaller. So this is Renaissance Ribbons. Tula Pink has tons of ribbons from Renaissance Ribbons, including some brand new ones. So you can find all those on the Renaissance Ribbons website, which I've linked to in the description. I think this one was 7/8 of an inch for my demonstration for the 1.5 inch. I'm using a 1.5 inch wide ribbon, and Renaissance Ribbons has a variety of different widths, such as some of these ribbons that I have here. So you'll just want to choose a ribbon that's applicable to the size of the finished strap that you're going to make. Okay, so I'm going to put these to the side, and I'm going to be demonstrating the 1.5 inch wide strap. So for this piece, you'll need to cut your strap fabric 6 inches wide by however long you'd like to make it. And for my demonstration, I'm just using a shorter piece just so I don't have to deal with lots of excess length, but just know that you'll need to cut your strap the length of the strap you prefer, depending on what bag you're making. Okay, so besides the strap fabric, I'm using a quilting cotton. I also cut a piece of Pellon Shape Flex. The Shape Flex is the same width as the fabric. It's just 3/4 of an inch shorter. So I already ironed this on previously before the show, and so I centered my Shape Flex. As you can see, there's a little bit of fabric poking out from either end. The reason that I'm centering the Shape Flex is because I wanted to keep the bulk of the interfacing out of the seam allowance, just because we have a lot going on here with the fabric interfacing and the ribbon as well. Another option, if your machine doesn't deal well with a lot of layers, is to just skip the Shape Flex. I like it here for the extra stability, but the ribbon also provides stability as well because it's not stretchy. And so if you'd like to skip the Shape Flex and just do the fabric with your ribbon, that's another option as well. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and press my fabric toward the wrong side by 1/2 inch, and I'm going to do that on both of the short ends of the fabric. Okay, after I do that, I'm also going to press the fabrics wrong sides together in half so that both of the long edges are aligned. And I have my iron set to the cotton setting, as I usually do when I'm working with quilting cottons. Okay, next I'm going to open the fabric out and bring the lower edge up toward the center crease. And then I'm also going to bring the opposite long edge up toward the center crease and press as well. Okay, so I'm going to refold the fabrics along the creases that I made, and then I'm going to press one more time. Okay, so because I don't want the end of the webbing to be seen, the raw edges, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my piece of ribbon uncut, and I'm going to insert this end and fold it toward the wrong side by about 1/2 inch. So when it's inserted in, here, let me open this out. I'm going to just fold this down so that the raw edges is enclosed in my previous folds. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take some Wonder Clips and just clip that end in place. If you feel more comfortable, you can add some Wonder Clips along this open edge as well. Okay, so I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine. I'm going to start sewing at this edge where we tucked in the raw edge of the ribbon. And I'm going to sew both of the long edges 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric. And when I reach the opposite end, before we complete top stitching along the bottom, say 2 inches, I'm just going to go ahead and trim the fabric about 1/2 inch. Trim the ribbon about 1/2 inch longer than the fabric so that I can tuck the other end in as well. I'm not going to trim it until I get to the other end, just because while sewing the ribbon on top, the layers might shift a little bit, and I just want to make sure I have enough length of the ribbon to be able to tuck it in properly. So I'm actually not going to cut this ribbon until about a couple of inches away from the bottom edge of my fabric. Okay, so I'm going to move over to the sewing machine and get this stitched into place. Okay, so here's my piece of ribbon attached to the fabric, and I also wanted to mention that I slightly increased my stitch length for the top stitching. So my regular stitch length on my machine is 2.5 millimeters, and for top stitching like this, I like to change my stitch length to 3 millimeters instead, just so you get a nice stitch length not too close together. Okay, so now we're going to attach the metal slider. So because this strap is finishing at 1.5 inches wide, I've got my 1.5 inch slider. I'm going to flip to the back side, and I'm going to make a mark using my chalk and ruler that's 2 inches in from the short end. So I'm just going to draw a line. Okay, so I'm going to insert the fabric into the slider through one end and back down the other end, and I'm just going to pull it through like this. So I'm going to flip to the other side, and I'm going to place that metal bar in my slider at that 2 inch mark that I made, and I'm just going to flip the fabric down just like this. So I'm going to add a couple Wonder Clips, and I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch this 1/8 of an inch away from this edge of the fabric, and also 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric. And you can go ahead and leave your stitch length at that slightly lengthened stitch length. Okay, so now it's time to start adding the 2 swivel clips. Again, you want swivel clips with openings of 1.5 inch because that's what the finished width of the strap will be. So I'm going to flip this so that the slider's on the other end, and I'm going to add one of the swivel clips so that it looks like this. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over, and I'm going to bring this strap piece through the metal slider on the other end. And I'm just going to pull it a few inches away from the end just so I have a little bit of clearance. So here's the slider on the opposite end. I'm going to go flip this over just because I'm right-handed, and I'm going to attach the remaining swivel clip to the remaining short end of the strap fabric. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and fold this back by about 1.5 inches. And again, we're going to secure the other end by stitching 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric and also 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of the fabric. Okay, so as you can see, this was super easy to put together. Obviously, your strap will be not a short little strap like I have here. But I feel like this is a really nice way to kind of elevate a bag, especially if you're making a bag in solid colors. Perhaps you're using cork or vinyl or even wool to make your bag. This is a really great way not only to elevate the look of it, but also you can switch these out. Again, you'll want to have a bag with some sort of attachment on the side, such as a D-ring or a triangle ring. But this is a really great way to switch out your straps, perhaps to coordinate with a different outfit or just kind of your mood of the day. But again, really fun and easy to put together. Renaissance Ribbons has a variety of different ribbons, not only Tula Pink, but other designers as well. And so I recommend you check out their website. Again, link is in the description for Renaissance Ribbons. And as you can see, this is fun and easy to put together. So I hope you enjoyed today's Bag Lab demonstration for the ribbon strap. All right, before we get to a few other things, I wanted to announce the winner of last month's giveaway. That winner is Arnetta Davis. So congratulations to you, Arnetta. Please email me after the show. My email is sarah@sewsweetness.com. And again, Danny's going to put my email address up on the screen. All right, and Danny put together his picks of the week, so I'm going to throw this over to Danny.
Hey, everyone. For my picks of the week, we're going to start with Amanda made this awesome chickadee bag. I love the fabric. I love the purple handle. Beautiful photo taking as well. Just beautiful bag. Great job, Amanda. And my favorite's a Rockstar from Jeanette. This is one of my all-time favorite bags Sarah's ever made. It's the Rockstar. And Rock, Paper, Scissors, Baby.
Rock, Paper, Scissors.
Yeah, there you go. So, thank you. That's amazing. Now look at the photo of this one. This is Rebecca in a 9-bark backpack. I love this photo she shot from it. It just looks super cool. Then Tammy made this super bloom, and I believe that's Alexander Henry fabric. I love the sass of this bag. It looks so much cool. Something like see Sarah walk around with.
Oh yeah, a great job to everyone, and we always love seeing your finished pictures over on social media. So be sure to post either in our Facebook group, which if you're not already a member, I have a link to in the description, or if you're posting on Instagram, wherever you're posting. We really enjoy seeing your finished bag pictures. So thanks so much to everyone for this month's Danny's pick. All right, we are going to skip the live questions because obviously we have no live audience for this month's show. Danny, did you have any questions that you could maybe ask me in the meantime?
I would ask is, how do you know when to pick a large scale print for a bag versus like a small scale print?
Good question, Danny. I asked Danny to think up some questions to ask me instead, and I don't know what I was expecting, but this is a really good question. So how to know when to go with a large scale print. So I would suggest looking at the bag pattern and looking at some of the examples of other people who have made it and taking into consideration, for example, if there's handles on the front of the bag, where will the handles be? And you can find that information out by kind of just reading through the pattern instructions. In my patterns, there's full color step-by-step photographs. And so I would suggest perhaps having your paper pattern pieces handy and printed out already, reading through the pattern and finding out where the handles are attached, because it will tell you in the pattern instructions measurements for the handle placement, and taking that into consideration. You can even, for instance, take your pen and like make little marks on the paper pattern piece for where the handles will be placed. And you can use all of that information for choosing fabrics. So for example, I probably wouldn't choose a large scale print if majority of the print was cut off by the handle placement, especially if it was kind of detrimental to the design of the fabric. A lot of times for smaller projects like pouches, I like using not large scale prints. So maybe what's kind of known as maybe a blender fabric, for instance. I'm working on a pattern for some small items right now, and so I chose these fabrics designed by Juicy Juice because they're smaller projects, but the colors, lots of bright colors, still geometric designs, and so for the smaller projects that I'm working on right now, I felt like something like this would be better suited. So honestly, sometimes I choose wrong, but when it's the right choice and you finish the project, you'll for sure know it. So sometimes it's trial and error also. And I feel like all in all, if you finish the project, sometimes it might not be my favorite fabric choice, but I'm still proud of the finish. And as with every sewing project that I make, there's always something to be learned in the project. So even if it's not, I'm definitely not a perfectionist, but I feel like we should be a little more gentle to ourselves, especially with the finished item, and just be proud of what we made and not so married to having a perfect finish, or when the bag's finished feeling like, oh yeah, this was the perfect choice. Sometimes it's not the perfect fabric choice, but it's still something to be proud of and celebrated for every sewing project that you finish. All right, Danny, any other questions for me?
Yeah. What is your favorite substrate to work with that is not quilting cotton?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say majority of my bags, I do use quilting cotton just because of the huge amount of different print choices available. I would say we do have a few of these organic cotton canvas prints in the shop right now. They're all geometric type prints like this one. And I would say a canvas like this is really nice to work with because it's not a really thick or stiff canvas. I feel like the colors are really bright in this type of canvas, and it's just nice to work with. If you're looking, I guess maybe a second choice would be cork. Cork comes in a lot of different colors. It's really easy to sew with on a domestic sewing machine, and the results are just fabulous. When people see cork bags, I feel like they gravitate toward them in a lot of cases and want to know, oh, what kind of fabric is that? So I would say those are probably my second and third choices behind quilting cotton.
All right, my next question is, last question. What do you like to design more, backpacks or purses or handbags?
That's a good question. I'm actually working, I haven't started yet, but one of my ideas for a new pattern was another backpack. I feel like there's so many options for different types of backpacks. I guess currently I really like backpacks, but I'm trying to test myself. I don't know if the viewers will agree, but I'm trying to test myself with more, I don't want to say simple patterns, but simple to sew, but doesn't look simple in the finished product. So I don't know if that's something you like or if you like the more detailed patterns, but I feel like I really haven't focused on simpler to sew bags and pouches before. Generally, I feel like my brain wants to make them more elaborate or lots of other details in them. And so for this summer, I think maybe I'm trying to focus a little bit, at least part of the time, on simpler sews, but still look amazing in the finished bags. So I feel like I've done one of those patterns so far. I've designed 2 new patterns so far, and I'm gonna try to get a second simpler to sew pattern if I possibly can. Obviously, if I don't feel it's up to snuff as far as like Sew Sweetness patterns, I'm not going to do it just so I can force a simpler sew, but I think I can, so I'm gonna challenge myself to go for that. So thanks, Danny. Those were 3 really great questions. And for our July show, I'll plan to leave extra time for our live Q&A for that show as well. All right, so one last thing to get to is the giveaway for tonight. Our giveaway is, I decided it will be a $50 gift certificate to sewsweetness.com, so you can pick up some patterns, cork fabric, notions, or maybe some of the new backpacks. So it's a randomly drawn giveaway. You have until the end of the day this Saturday to leave a comment on the show wherever you watch, either Facebook or YouTube. We add up all the comments together and I choose a randomly drawn winner, and I'll announce the winner's name on our July Sewcial Sunday episode. So I have a question for you, a bonus method of entry, just because all the comments on the show count. My question is, do you have any fun plans for June or July? So let me know in the comments. And as a friendly reminder, our July episode of Sewcial Sunday will be on July 7th. And as always, the shows are at 7 p.m. Central Time. And if you miss any of the Sewcial Sunday shows, or you'd just like to rewatch some of the shows we've done in the past, you can find those episodes anytime over on our YouTube channel. Thanks so much for tuning in for Sewcial Sunday. I'm so sorry I was not able to be with you live for this month, but I had a lot of fun putting together this month's show, and we'll see you for the July show on July 7th. Have a great week and happy sewing. Bye, everybody.